Hi, I'm Anne, and I'm happy to be here today to share with you a tutorial for how to make these adorable kids backpacks. This is for my granddaughter, this is for my grandson. These are for smaller kids. I put a pocket on the back of each, and on the front I pulled this from my orphan block bin. And this was a 3-inch block from the traditional quilt block series. I just cut a hole in the jeans and folded it under and glued the block to the back and top stitched it. So I also made my daughter one of these backpacks, and I'll show you on the screen. It's from a pair of True Religion jeans of hers that were ripped. And so you can see how jean labels would be cute, or, really anything that you want to put on them. I won't be going over how to put the embellishments on these, but just the general construction. So you would get your embellishments all done before you started cutting up your jeans to the size needed to sew. So let me just catch up with Halo for those that are doing it with me. Just give me a few seconds for that. I've got 20 blocks done out of 72. I did really well last week. This coming week, because I'm going to be with my grandbabies, I'm probably not going to, it's possible I won't even put a video out. We'll see. But I'll have to catch up with you again on Halo the week after next. So let's get started. All right, so I've got my outer pieces prepared, and I've got 2-inch pieces for the little tabs that the ropes go through on the bottom of the bag. To begin, we are going to cut our pieces to size. And so the width is 11.5 and the height is 14.5. I'm going to get some tape, make this easier. So here's 11.5. And here's 14.5. All right. So the channel for the rope at the top, it's going to begin at a 1/2 inch down will be the first sew line, and 1 1/4 down from that will be the second one, keeping that in mind at the top. So now I need to pick out a lining. I haven't done that yet. That's not quite the right red. Huh, I like that. I like this too, but it's, yeah, I'm not going to use that for a couple of reasons. Let's see here. What else we got? This looks to be about the same red. Ooh, I like that. Looks like dragon fire breath or something. Cool. Okay. So let's cut 2 of these out. Put our right sides together, the front and the back for each of these. We're just going to stitch across the top. I like to use clips for this sort of thing. I'm going to be using some really heavy thread, the same that I used to sew this pocket on. I want these to be strong. Okay, so let's go to the machine and stitch across the tops of these. And I'm going to go ahead and be using a walking foot, because with the lining and the jeans being such different weights and stretch values, I want this to feed through evenly. Doesn't really have to be exactly 1/4 of an inch, but it needs to be consistent. Okay, over to the next step. So I've got these pressed open, And we're going to put the lines together and the outsides together, lining them up really nicely at the center here. This is where we have to add the tab. And we want these to be about 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. I'm gonna put them like this. I want to make sure we catch them in the seam for sure. Good. All right. Now we can pin these together. This side, we're going to want to leave an opening for turning down here. And I'm just going to put 2 clips there to remind myself to not sew that area. Okay, awesome. I'm starting off right at this end of the no-sew area. Turn my stitch length down slightly to 2 1/4 and back stitching. And I'm going to go ahead and go over this. I'm going to back over it. Make sure it's good and strong right there. It's a loud sound when it cuts that big thread. All right. Beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and snip off some corners here without cutting the thread. Over to the cutting table. Okay, now for the fun part. Get in here with a chopstick and hit the corners and push out those seams. And for this opening, I will end up top stitching it closed, but I'm going to wait until the very end because I want to put 50 weight thread in there for that. I don't want to use the heavy stuff for that. And what I think would be really cute is to let this red hang up a little bit over the top. I'll take this to the iron and get this little flange pressed out evenly. Okay, to the machine. The idea here is to be very straight. Super cute. This is adorable. All right, so now we need to mark where we're going to be sewing our channel for a rope. This is the 1/4 inch stuff I'm using. My channel is going to be 1¼ inches wide, and I will put that in the notes in the description below the video. And so the first, I'm going to go a 1/2 inch down from that top stitch. Yeah. This next channel is 1¼ and it can be 1 inch is ample if you're using something like this. Something thinner than this 1/4 inch. You're only going to need a 1 inch channel, but I found 1 inch made it very difficult to thread that rope through, so I'm going to go 1¼ inch. All right, so take that to the machine, and when I stitch this, I'm going to run over the seam a few times, because once we sew these two channel lines, we're going to take the seam ripper and open this up. So I want to make sure that I've got some really good strength right there. Okay, to the machine. Chalk line's kind of hard to see, so I stuck this piece of tape when I need to refer to it to make sure I'm on the right. And I'm going to start back here just before the seam, because I'm going to run over that a couple of times and I need to back stitch anyway, so I might as well do that all in one spot. Stitch length, I don't know, 2¼ inches, so I'm making sure got some good strength right there for when we seam rip that out. All right, that looks pretty good. I got worked out. Let's see. That looks pretty straight, not terrible. All right, the final step will be to rip these seams open in the channel here on both sides. I cut this to about 55 inches. If they're too long, we can just cut off what is excess and tie a new knot. So I'm going to tie a knot, something that won't fray, that you can put a pin in to push this through the channel. And starting at one side, just go right past the other side. I'm going to go all the way around and come out the other, come out where we went in. Even out the ends. All right. I use a pin to get mine through that little loop because mine are pretty tight. This 1/4 inch rope is pretty thick, and I like it to be tight because once these get through there and you tie your knot, you don't want them to be able to slide back out. Tie a regular knot like this. Clean up the end and make sure it won't slide through. So do that to the other side and then we're done. All right, so that's a wrap on the backpacks. And I have for you now a time lapse of me making this backpack. And in the very beginning, I had already cut the pieces out, so I added a generous 10 plus minutes to the start of the stopwatch. But go ahead and watch and you can see how fast it is to make these. And thank you for being here, and I will see you next time.